this family that they were trying to evacuate from the fires. And I'm just going to read a couple of these little paragraphs. It says, on August 8th before 4 p.m., Hawaiian Electric informed Maui residents about extended power outages as more than 30 power poles snapped in high winds. At the same time, fire officials shut the Lahaina bypass road because of the blazes, blocking the only route out of Lahaina to the south. When resident Nate Baird tried to drive his family out of town on that day, he found that his path was being blocked by traffic cones and crews working on the downed electric poles. The crews were stationed to turn people back toward Lahaina. Instead of complying, Mr. Baird swerved his car past the cones and headed south to safety. Nobody realized how little time he really had, he said. Like, even us being from the heart of the fire, we did not comprehend. Like, we literally had minutes, and one wrong turn, we would all be dead right now. And then it says one family ditched the standstill traffic and turned their car onto a dirt road, driving all the way to Napili to escape the fire. And I thought this was interesting because I'm like, maybe that's what we need to do from now on. Whatever the government is telling us to do the opposite. You know?
Honestly, I've watched a ton of these videos. I've looked at maybe 10 articles. Tim Pool's had guests talking about it like 3 or 4 nights at least. Um, Absolutely. At this point, I mean, with the Uvalde stuff, a lot of these mass casualty type events, a lot of natural disasters, obviously COVID. Um, if ever there's a time to give two big middle fingers to the government, it's when they are telling you to sit tight and die. I mean, this is like so much worse than COVID. The line that killed me, the line
Mm-hmm.
that freaking killed me, is it in? It's not in this article. Is where the mayor, in support of these roadblocks, because of power line. Power lines may kill you. Fire's going to kill you, period. A fire
Yeah.
moving 80 knots, however many miles an hour that is, like, you are done. Um, 0%. I mean, look at these flipping. I just had the pictures up. Look at these cars.
Yep.
Look at this side by side. All of these buildings burned down to the foundation. Like, there is nothing left. This idiot says, the mayor says, we want stay at home order. We want to lock people down. We want to put up these roadblocks because if they come outside, they might go the wrong way and into the fire. Which is total bullcrap, because do I have that image? Oh, come on. What did I do with it? I don't have it. Oh yeah. So, I mean, this is a thing that went on day and night. So obviously nighttime, like at nighttime, there's a pretty easy way to see that this is where the fire is, the blazing inferno. You can see it. This is where the fire is not. But
Yeah.
even in the daytime, like, no freaking way.
Yeah.
They should have. Hawaiians generally don't have guns, but I'm telling you right now, if something like that is going on and there's anyone, HOA, president of a company, police, whatever, thinks that they're going to stand in the way, they got another thing coming. This is crazy. Guys, stop listening to the government when they are telling you to do stuff that they have no authority to do, because they
Yeah.
told these people to go sit in your home and die, or sit in your car
Mhm.
and die.
And people did it. And it's not that I blame them because I think a lot of people think, well, I mean, it's interesting because I think it just shows how much, we've been programmed, uh, to just accept things that just don't make any sense. But even if they're saying turn around and drive back into the fire, like your brain isn't going to think they're going to send me back to my death. So perhaps some people thought that it was being handled and contained in some way behind them. I don't know what the logic would be, but I can't imagine sitting there with my kids in the car with me and looking at the road out away from the fire and being told to turn around and drive back straight toward it. I'd be like, no,
You want to hear a fresh conspiracy, a Joe Mobley original?
always.
This is what I believe is going on here. I won't say anything about the origins of the fire. This is obviously a terrible fire, but I have been involved and with my career and just my area of expertise, emergency response planning, and in theory and in practice, responding to some of the worst tragedies that can happen. I got a lot of them under my belt. So there are plans for this stuff. There are plans for like the craziest things, like Leslie Knope Parks and Rec type binder plans. So you almost, if you wanted to test something out, you almost just have to wait for where it's going to happen naturally. You don't have to pull a COVID. You don't have to release something into the wild if that happened. But as as these different groups will say, the people doing, as these different powers and influence who are putting messages out into the world to get the world to bend to their will, they kind of need to check in on that from time to time, just like we do with our kids. We're training up our kids in the way they should go. And every once in a while, instead of telling them what to do, we just let them kind of sit in the wild at the restaurant or in the library, wherever, to see what they'll do. And then their response informs where we're doing a good job, where we need to pay more attention, what we need to lean into. And as we've been living through some pretty big government psyops the last, we'll just say it started on, say, September 10th, 2001, for whatever reason. As we're living through these psyops, these powers, they have to check in and see, will they listen to us? What if we just told them to wear, you're hearing this again, there are going to be lockdowns coming. You're going to have to wear a mask. You're going to have to get 5 more boosters. Will they do it? This is one of those things. Will they see with their eyes that there is a fire on their butt and let us tell them not to go in the direction of safety, but to turn around and go back? And a ton of people did. Almost everyone was like, okay. The guy with the badge said, go do this. The guy on the phone, the governor, said, go do that.
Yep. Yeah. You know what? I don't think that conspiracy theory is too far off from the truth. And I think that they're testing that compliance again by just testing the waters with mask mandates and vaccine mandates again. They're seeing, okay, how much of an impact did we make this time? But I think, this should be just an eye opener to everyone. And this could be why they don't want to, once again, they don't want to talk about it. Just one more disaster they want to ignore. But it's like, your government officials will literally send you into a blazing inferno and not even think twice about it. They're not losing any sleep over this. They're not even talking about it.
Yep.
I think that should be, just send a clear message to anyone. And I definitely think there's something to be said for whatever the government lays out for you. Just turn around, just do completely the opposite, and you're going to be better off.
Can we watch this video? It's one of the more lighthearted ones.
Sure.
But I just thought it was interesting.
Oh my gosh, look at the harbor. Oh my gosh.
Got home about 4 o'clock yesterday from work. Smoke in town. My son and his girlfriend and 2 kids were at the house, and we evacuated immediately. No cell phone coverage, no internet, no way to contact the outside world. And we got to this side of the island about midnight last night. My wife and dog, and slept in the parking lot at Whole Foods. Woke up this morning and got on our phones to pictures of our house, just down to the slab. Nothing but smoke, cinders. Came with the clothes we got on and a dog and 2 kids. Here we are.
If you go and read the article of that guy, he was one of the people that they said turn around. And he said F no, and he drove around. He drove around the little blockade.
Yep.
You shouldn't have to do this. It's on Reuters has the story. You shouldn't have to do this, but
Yeah.
there is a time to tell the government to shove it.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, and I did talk about this in a video recently, but that I've the ol- and I've mentioned before in other posts, but the only place in Hawaii I've ever been to is Lahaina. I've been to Maui. That's the only area of Hawaii I've been there one time, and it's there literally is one major highway in and out of the town. It's not like if you turn around and go back down uh in into the town that you're going to be able to find another exit. So to have the main highway blocked when they know these people had to know that the water supply was limited. They had to know exactly how many personnel they had available to contain this thing. I mean, these were, the police and the fire department. So they had to have that information. And I think that's what makes it that much more sinister is the fact that they had that information, knowing that this thing was not under control, that they had very limited ability to stop it, that it wasn't going to be able to be stopped, and they still turned people around. Their focus should have been on that road. If there were down power lines, to make that road as safe as possible with all of the resources, like throw all of the resources at that road so you can get people out of there. That should have been their focus. Just like with COVID, you should have focused on all the people that were the most vulnerable. Instead, you made us all sit and burn. So
Now, wait a
I,
minute. Are you suggesting that when the emergency response planners think about a crisis and beforehand, they're supposed to think what would be the most catastrophic thing that could happen and mitigate those risks? That's wild. Like,
I'm
there's only one road in and out of here. Like, this is definitely top 5 priorities.
yeah,
It's interesting. It's interesting that that didn't happen. I mean, you would think that there would be people like a town planner, an emergency response coordinator, and like the top 5 brass of all those little agencies. You would
yeah,
think.
you would think. And even then, the people standing there, they're saying, I'm just following orders. And it's like, screw your orders. Like, where is your soul as a human being, regardless of what all these other people are telling you? I'd be like, no, I am not sending those people back. So
Yep.
it just,